يسعد ويشرف اتحاد المصريين معا بالمملكة المتحدة أن يقدم لكم سلسلة ندوات تعليمية تحت عنوان معا نتعلم ونستفيد. اتحاد المصريين معا بالمملكة المتحدة أسس لجلب المنافع للإخوة المصريين في جميع أنحاء العالم، هذا بالإضافة إلى تأسيس وخلق مجتمع يساعد على تقوية الألفة بين أبناء جمهورية مصر العربية في الخارج. الهدف من هذه المبادرة هي إتاحة الفرصة لبعض من الخبراء في شتى المجالات لكي يشاركوا بمعلوماتهم وخبراتهم لتعليم وإفادة العامة عبر محاضرات تأتيكم عبر الإنترنت، من ثم ترفع المحاضرات على قناة الاتحاد على اليوتيوب. The Egyptians Together Union in the UK is honored to introduce a series of educational talks called Together Teach Each Other. The Egyptians Together Union in the UK was established to bring about mutual benefits to our fellow Egyptians all around the world, in addition to providing a community to strengthen the bond between Egyptians abroad. The purpose of this initiative is to provide the stage for professionals in a variety of different fields to share their knowledge to educate the masses live via the internet, from which the sessions are uploaded to the Union's YouTube channel. I'm glad to introduce Dr. Mustafa Muhammad, that's going to be talking about academic career development.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. I wish you are happy and healthy, have a productive week, and enjoy your life with family, inshallah. Okay, I'm thankful and grateful for this opportunity, and I would like to welcome everybody here. The objective of today's session is mainly to share my modest experience in academia, and the target is mainly for early career and junior scholars who wanted to join academia in UK, or somebody who graduated from UK with a PhD degree and wants to commence an academic career in Britain. So this is going to be a sort of three-stage model for your career. First, you need to have these key pillars, and I call them the magical educational footprint and the magical 4 Ps that we are going to discuss today, with some practical examples from my own modest experience again. Then, how would you, in your own career, signify your contribution for higher education institutions in UK? How would you speak to your managers, to your fellow people? How would you prove that you are worthy of progression and getting promoted? And the third element is that, so what? What is going to be the future? And so what has no end. So I'm going to produce, something, modest and limited, and it's up to you then to take it into your own career. I'm a business scholar, so many of you would be from different disciplines. So take it in your way. I would only discuss the higher education fellowship and how you progress in this as a sort of continuous development. And the key reason, before I go ahead, to speak in English, because mainly most of these terminologies and the context is in Britain. But I'm happy to respond later on in Arabic and mix, Franco-Arab language. I wouldn't mind. And please share your comments, and later on I would be happy to comment on them and give you some answers. So the first section is going to talk about the educational footprint and what is scholarly and academic career in UK. And I would like to start with this sort of overall ecosystem of academia, the entrepreneurial learning, especially after COVID-19. It became more a systemic ecosystem that we need to consider. So if you want to become an academic, or you're an academic, you need to think of 3 pillars: your university, your employer, the enterprises and companies, the industry around you, and students. They are interplaying together. So you need to think that the university role is to train their own staff, teach students contemporary topics, something that helps getting them more experience. And then when they go to the qualified enterprises and businesses, they will have more qualifications. They need less training from these institutions. So they are market ready. This is going to be our product, your product, guys. Which means you need to go back to your university from time to time and tell them, this is what I could learn during my weekend, my vacation, whatever, keep continuous learning, and then tell them I can deliver this. This is what we need to do to our students so we can narrow down the gap between university and industry or enterprise. And your student satisfaction and students as a pillar. I mean, the concept here in England is that we are dealing with students not as customers but as recipients of our services, partially as customers. So we need to make them happy, but not in terms of passing everybody and it makes it things smooth and just very naive. No, we have systematic challenges for them, so they progress, whether they are level 3 like foundation level, level 4, level 6, whatever they go for, until postgraduate and PhD doctoral level. You need to expose them to intense experience in your teaching. So your teaching is not just research informed, but industry informed. So you bring something from your own consultancy, from your own learning, and put it back in your teaching. This is what you need to do. So when you go to the market, it's not a surprise. We need to think about placements. We need to think about life projects and your partnership with industry in your own consultancy projects. You need to share this with your students and maybe host some of them to be part of your life projects through placements and internships. Okay, so this is a sort of overall view, but bear in mind, I'm gonna split this into easy steps and some benchmarks later on. So I want you to think this way. Academia is not one bus stop. No, you keep going in your career, and unless you develop yourself, you wouldn't progress. So you need to think this way. University need to be entrepreneurial, so we need to do business, whether we are in engineering, science, we need to do business, commercialize whatever service or product you think of, you research of, think of changing paradigms of how you teach this, how you do more research on this, how you commercialize this. You need to set your own philosophy of doing your own research and teaching and developing your ideas and your products if you are in engineering or chemistry or somewhere else. In terms of business, you need to understand the context of each business. The contents of your education and your modules and your training need to be tailored to this context. So whether you are going to deliver something in Gulf, you need to think of, study them, have some partnerships with them, include multidisciplinary people with your teaching and with your research. You need to be open-minded, especially after pandemic. Most of the things are online, which means whatever you do here need to be connected to different contexts in China, in Gulf, and different other countries. So you need to understand different contexts and contents. You need to renew your methods in terms of delivery. So it's not just about the teaching, technology, Zoom or Blackboard, Collaborate, or whatever the technology you have. It's mainly about the way you incorporate inclusive learning and the new pedagogical approaches in your learning and your teaching. You might think of simulations, games, something, action research, but then you need to think about research ethics and how you do things with less interaction with humans during COVID. All of these are things, like renew methods. In business, we have more analytical techniques and software to analyze. We have artificial intelligence, machine learning, and new stuff. But it's mainly the business model and the techniques that you put inside these technologies to make them work better, for better understanding of context and changing the paradigm and philosophy of your teaching. So this is a sort of overall umbrella. So we've been trying to talk about the 3 pillars: university, enterprise, industry, and students. And then these 3 elements that you need to consider to progress in your career. Once you do this, I want you to think of magical number 7. I would discuss 4 P's, but then later on we can talk about the other 3 because they are sub-branches. So I will talk about core 4 elements, and then later on we can discuss the other 3 elements. So P's. I'm going to start with words with alphabet P. So publications, it's quite important. I'm going to talk about presence and international presence. I'm going to talk about pounds, money, how you can raise research and consultancy income to university, and postgraduate supervision in terms of PhD supervision and master supervision. So I'm going to start with these four, quite important, at least from my modest experience. I want you to think of them, and then later on we will discuss the other three after we finish my presentation. So first, publications. Publications in England are more sort of currency, because whatever you publish in terms of 3 stars, 4 stars journal paper, this will raise income from the government towards your institution. So if you are applying for jobs, you have golden currency in your CV showing that you published this. Once they recruit you, they will gain more money when they submit the ref. And it's not an easy process, but from your perspective, you need to think about these elements that I'm going to talk about. First, if I'm going to publish a paper, what would be the impact of this paper? How many participants will receive the outcomes? So for example, if I'm doing something to do with Hajj, so I'm going to Saudi Arabia to do Hajj, and I'm going to receive this application, mobile app that Mustafa developed. So we're talking about millions of people who are using this app. And Mustafa is publishing a paper about this app, which would be delivered for at least 2 or 3 million users. So the impact of my research, it helps community. It shows collaboration between me as an academic and university as institution, businesses who, the IT developers who helped me to develop the app, the Saudi community out there who received the app, and people who helped me to test and prototype this software, which is published later on in my paper in Saudi Arabia. So your research impact, you think this way. If you have many projects, which one should I start with? The one with highest impact. If it's already ready, or you think of 3 or 4 years plan to make it ready to be published. You can incorporate this research in your teaching as you go. Second element, how much funding you could raise to do this research. So you are going to publish a paper. When you sit in an interview or in a promotion interview, they will ask you this question. Okay, you published the first paper, brilliant. How much money could you gain or raise to our university to publish this research? If it's a big money, good. So you know how to think in different lines, not just publish conceptual papers. And later on we can have another session on what source of funding, but it depends on your field. So in some disciplines like ours, British Academy of Management, ESRC, there are many big sources of income, and once you secure money from these institutions, Innovate UK or whatever, you can secure good reputation. And this is part of the interviews, promotion interviews and job interviews. They will ask you, do you have any previous funding experience? So funding is quite connected to your research. We're going to talk about funding in separate, but again, it's quite connected to publications and research. Journal ranking. Now, journal ranking differs from discipline to another discipline. And what I'm urging you to do is to think this way. You can always negotiate. So you may be able to publish in a 4-star journal paper in ABS, Association of Business Schools in England. So this is ranking for the business schools in England. But then you are submitting your job application for an institution in Emirates or in Kuwait or in somewhere else. So they might be using the Australian ranking, which is the ABDC, or the American ranking, the scientific journal ranking one. So you can locate your journal paper and the rank of your journal in that ranking list, and you can negotiate. So if your paper, for example, Journal of Cleaner Production, this used to be in my discipline, used to be 1 star and recently became 2 stars. In other rankings, it's usually 4 stars. It's a big one. So you apply for a job in Emirates or in Kuwait or in Bahrain, and you can always negotiate, guys. My paper is A star in your ranking, in Australian ranking. So you can always play a game with this. It's not as big game, but it's sort of evidence, how you evidence and evaluate your delivery. Number of citations. So when you apply for a job or for promotion, the way they evaluate your publications would be how many citations, and especially conceptual papers are good in terms of if you are developing a sort of new framework or theory, and you can call it after your name or socio-technical something, creative, so people can take this and cite it and adapt it and test it. So the number of citations which you can find from Google Scholars and other databases, Web of Science, and different databases. Another element, now whatever you publish later on will be subject to an internal review in your own institution. So let's assume that you published a 4-star journal paper in one of the top Financial Times journals, amazing. But then it's up to the internal panel set by your own university to tell if this is equal to 4-star value or maybe 2-star value. It could be niche, it could be naive from their perspective. So it's not just the journal ranking, it's the internal review of your paper, because end of the day, they want to give this a high rank so they can include it into the ref submission. And the last element of publications here is the impact cases. Now, impact cases is still part of the REF, which is the Research Excellence Framework. The whole process here is Research Excellence Framework submission, which would give income to a university and a golden currency for you guys. Now, impact case is complicated. It's not as easy as publishing a paper, because you need to evidence this with impact to society, inclusion of this method that you reflected and published upon in your own teaching. So, for example, I'm using socio-technical approach, multi-view model to develop mobile apps. So do I use this philosophy in my teaching? Do I teach my students this? Did I publish about this before? And when you look at ref results, there's always, paper submission, 3 stars and 4 stars, and the other section is impact cases. Impact cases wouldn't be easy for you, so I would advise, if you are early career or just starting mid-career, you join, more expert people, somebody who is a full professorship or higher level, so they can advise you as you go. The second element is presence. And presence, I mean, you are not just showing your own reputation and your own skills worldwide, but you are boosting the university and your institution's reputation. This would start from being part of the editorial, panel for 3 or 4-star journal papers. Join, have a special issue. So you become one of these guest editors in the special issue. This will add to your experience. Organizing and arranging a conference, a worldwide conference, become part of the international affiliations like Academy of Management, British Academy of Management. This is in my field, but in engineering and supply chain, there are different institutions that you can be part of. In Project Management Institute, there are many big international professional groups that you can join. So you become part of these key experts in the world. Becoming an external examiner for other universities. In UK, there is a platform which I can share later on if you wanted me to do so. You subscribe and you can always find external examination opportunities. You submit your CV and the cover letter. If they like you, if they think you match the expertise, they would recruit you to become an external examiner. And in this case, you go and meet them, submit your report as an examiner or reviewer. And this will enhance your own experience and your networking with them and your overall reputation. Okay, so this is in terms of presence in international venues. I know I'm quite fast in the way I speak, but if you think, I need to slow down, maybe you can write a comment or something. But later on, I can explain in the Q&A session. The third element. So we've been talking about publications, presence, and then pounds. Now, pounds is quite important these days in universities. Income from government, from our British government, became less than before, and usually money goes for big universities. Though there are smaller universities who manage to have something called KTB, or knowledge transfer partnerships. This is quite, a good source of income, and they have more opportunities because they don't spend as much efforts in philosophy and research than to engage with community. So they get some real projects and partnership with real businesses, and they do knowledge transfer. So an academic from your own institution could be you, who would partner with another institution, and then you get money from the UK government, which would be dedicated for you to buy your own time, and for a KTB fellow, somebody would be hosted to do the project for this company. There are different other sources of, building capacity units, networking with industry funding, placements, and life projects. So whatever you do in terms of bounds, if you do consultancy projects, this means networking. So you can bring placement opportunities for your own students in your programs and in your classes. CBD is a sort of training where, for example, let's assume I became an expert in Python coding. So I'm a business scholar, not usually a computer science scholar, but by chance I loved coding, so I started to develop my own coding experience. By doing so, I can deliver a professional training workshop for maybe business analysts in any company. So I set a syllabus, I send it to the CPD and the employability team in my university, and I can say, guys, go to the marketing intelligence team, promote this. I'm ready to give 3 days session or 2 days session, and it would be around 3-4 hours a day. I have a detailed syllabus. These are the targeted people. Let's price it around £1,500 a day. So the institution would be happy to promote this, and they will give professional certificates for your clients. You wouldn't get this full money, I mean, I think you will get something around £280. It depends from a university to another. Some universities will have this CPD as a sort of commercial arm. So they give you extra money for whatever you do. It will be taxed, of course. But some other universities will make this part of your workload model. So you can mainly buy your own time from teaching and do other things. Though not all universities will be able to balance this at the moment. So you might find yourself doing more research, more presence, and getting more money, and your workload is getting bigger and bigger. And they cannot take some of your teaching off. So but part of this balance in your life and the way you use these P's is not becoming over ambitious. Okay, being an ambitious person is good, but you need to see if you can really deliver what you promised to do, and if you did, does it help you to get promoted? If it doesn't help you to get promoted, then slow down and think, should I deliver this somewhere else? If it is to my institution, I will make it into 2 years, not in very short time, so I stress myself and I wouldn't be promoted anyway. So you need to have a balance between you benefiting your own career and your own institution, because if you are not happy and doing too much work, you wouldn't be able to be productive and help your institution getting bigger and grow up. In many other disciplines than business, in engineering, in chemistry, in computer science, even in psychology, you can have your own patent. So you can innovate something new, and once you register this patent, you can commercialize it and get money. You can maybe have a partnership partnership with Egyptian institutions, which is a bit challenging, but it could be with other institutions in other countries as well. So you create a joint program, joint PhD program, or joint master program, or undergraduate program. You could help creating an exchange scheme, studentship exchange scheme, and all of this would raise money for your institution. Now, the most important element in bounds in using your income generation strategy is to negotiate with your university. You can always negotiate and say, guys, I'm having this joint partnership, joint program, which will create, will attract this number of students. The tuition is blah, 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 and the university share will be this much money. So I'm bringing around 1 million pounds. Can you give me a full professorship? So you can always negotiate with this because you are benefiting them and you can benefit yourself as well, not just keep delivering things. So there's a technique that I personally been trying to develop for myself, and maybe it will help you. As you go, with whatever P you are using or whatever step you are doing, behaviorally, you need to do things wisely, evidence these things, and get get them evaluated and posted in local news in your institution. Apply for awards, and then keep negotiating with them. So you get evaluated and share this with others, and then negotiate the value for your own career and your salary and other things. The fourth P that I'm going to talk about now is postgraduate supervision. And you need to be careful around this. So it's good to have a big number of PhD supervisees and having different master dissertations. I used to do more than 20 master dissertations a year, and I had around 13 PhD supervisions so far. The risk is that once you supervise them, unintentionally you become involved in their life. Somehow you become responsible towards their success, their families, their conditions. So when you recruit postgraduate students, you need to link them to your own scholarly link, not just do it for the sake of helping people. Sometimes you are obligated to do this because somebody needs your help, but don't keep doing this over all your portfolio. Otherwise, you might have a big number of supervisees, and then you stuck with them. You spend more time in their life, in their work. You are not doing their work, but supervising them, encouraging them. But then you end up with no evaluation. So unless this postgraduate supervision helps back into your publications and your P's, your pounds, and your presence, these three elements, then don't recruit a big number. So when you recruit a good quality, okay? Try using the budget from your own institution to have a proposal for studentship. So if you, for example, I'm interested in blockchain and fintech and how Python analytics help on this, blah, blah, blah. So I can write a proposal, submit it to my university, and then they will announce and recruit PhDs around these topics. The other way around is that collaborate with other sponsors, not just the Arab sponsors, the Saudi, cultural attaché, the Kuwaiti, the Gulf sponsors, but other sponsors, the British Council, Chevening, ESRC, other sponsors, and you can encourage your students not just before they start their PhD or their degree, but even in the middle, and at the end they can always claim back money based on their publications, or getting an award for their degree, for their dissertation or thesis. So I ended up with these 4 P's, and I'm going to show you an example of how you need to think. So if you are going for a job interview, or you are going to a promotion interview, you need to present yourself this way. So this is my research. These are the key elements. This is my teaching, undergrad, postgrad, PhD. Sometimes you can give a PhD training. methodology courses or whatever, or philosophy, and how this helped you to gain pounds and raise income for the university and vice versa, and how all of these three elements helped you to be present in international venues and develop the so-called an international profile in something. So I claim, for example, I'm a digital innovation guy. And this means using these 4 Ps, I'm going to help the university to achieve a better REF submission, a better TEF teaching excellence framework, better results and satisfaction for our students, and KEF, which is knowledge exchange framework, more knowledge exchange with industry. Good. So I finished the first, part of our today's session, and I'm going to move to the second element. Then once you have this, you think this way, you can evidence and behave this way. Then how you evidence this? How can you show your contribution to higher education institutions in UK, whether it is your own institution or whether another institution you are applying for? Okay, first you need to think, am I working for a research-led institution? Do I need to have research-led teaching? So let's think about your teaching first. How can I match my experience and deliver teaching in my way? Both things in your comfort zone. I know it's good to challenge yourself with teaching new modules, especially fashionable stuff like in my discipline, business analytics and similar stuff. Though you need to have your own style, your own philosophy, things that are connected to the plans that we shown previously. And once you have this, you can set a topic syllabus for whatever module you teach and convince others to deliver this, and better to think of what is the best team to work with you, and help the workload manager to coordinate things with you. Because your line manager and the workload manager, they don't know who you are. They don't know every skill you have. So it's better that you have your own 4Ps, your plan for research-led teaching, and tell them, guys, I reviewed the module specification for these modules. I reviewed this program and I would love to be part of this or lead this. You can signify this way. For example, this is an institution I've been applying for. And then the way I presented to them, guys, this is my teaching map. If I join you, I can do this. Or before the workload allocation is done in my institution, I can send such a map to my own workload manager and tell them, guys, this is what I can do in terms of, is it bachelor, is it diploma, is it postgrad, and what sort of modules I can deliver. And I know I can always have my own taste, my own expertise in every one of these modules. So definitely, if I deliver these modules, I will have something to do with analytics and digital innovation, something to do with Python programming, something to do with innovation systems. There you go. Now, again, we're still in the second part of how we can signify our contribution. So now what you need to think is, in every program, whether you are a program leader or you are a module tutor in a program, you need to think of what would be the outputs that you can create. Can you design a new module? Can you design a new program? Usually these things are difficult at the beginning when you start your career or you start in a new institution. But then unless you think this way and build your own modules, you would always feel loose in the workload allocation. You will get surprised by new modules which you have no idea about. And unless you build your own workload and put the activities that you really need to do and love to do, you would always follow what's been done for you. So it's 2 ways. You help the workload manager to know what you're really capable of, and do what you really love to do to help yourself. So you think this way, I'm going to develop this new module. For example, in my career, I've been developing MSc, FinTech, business analytics, mobile banking, MSCs. And you need to think this way as well when you develop these things, because this will help us later in our continuous career. When you apply for the fellowship and senior fellowship of higher education academy, you need to reflect your own portfolio around these things. What sort of quality assessment did you get any business cases and to get this module or program approved by the university? What was the marketing intelligence? Could you recruit students, especially during the pandemic? Visa issues, all of these things would match the way you design your module and your program, the assessment, the delivery. All of this is connected together. How would you write a business case about your module and your program and marketize it? The design, the module specification. Would you deliver a module or a program which is multidisciplinary, cross different divisions? So fintech, for example, I needed people from finance while I'm a tech guy, a digital business guy. It could be around the whole university. So industry 4.0, we might design the module to be delivered by a team of people from engineering, from media, from the business school. So you think this way. Approvals, how you get the quality assessment team approving this, you need an external examiner, and we can use each other's guys. So you can find another peer, an Egyptian expert who is a professor or associate professor somewhere around us, and then you ask this person to become the external examiner. But we need an expert, and in doing so you need to consider, is this person a co-author? Because there is a conflict of interest. So you might recruit a very good external examiner and ask the quality assessment team to recruit this person, and then his application gets rejected because there is a conflict of interest, which means this external examiner will just approve your program or your module without even thinking, because he's your friend. So you recruit somebody who's qualified, but make sure there is no conflict of interest, at least legally or in academic sense. Student feedback, employers' feedback for your module and your program, and then you think of, can you secure placements for these students, especially if it is a master degree, even undergraduate degree? How many a year? Now in the pandemic period of time, how would you secure placements online? Would you really need to go work face to face? Risk assessment and all of these things. TIF, which is another element. So again, now I'm trying to tell you how to demonstrate your contribution to your own institution so you get promoted, or demonstrate your contribution towards a new institution that you are applying for. The teaching excellence framework, this is a definite question in any panel, in any career progression panel. You will be asked towards which element of TIF criteria you could contribute or you can contribute, or is there employability, giving satisfactory feedback for students about assessment, about their performance, other things. And it's good that you can network with other institutions in the industry to enhance TIF as well. Because if you secure placements and students get exposed to the experiences that we suggested at the beginning, this means better TIF results. The TIF results is quite important because it affects the university ranking. So the REF and the TIF both would judge the ranking of our university, and you need to signify your contribution towards these. Personal tutorship and tutoring scheme, you need to think of this. How could you really contributed which would enhance again TIF. Somehow you need to go to other admin roles. For example, becoming part of the admission team, director of admission, postgraduate, undergraduate admission. So you get to know the full loop. So there is a UCAS where we recruit good students with specific admission criteria from college and different levels towards the university level. And then how can I understand the full link from the way we recruit them until we deliver graduate, competent people for academia and do placements and other things, accreditation. And so it's a full package that you need to demonstrate. So if you can show that every module that you delivered has this number of students, could raise this amount of income, could contribute towards TIF in one way or another, could help you to get feedback for your own publications. So it helped you to publish more and improve your research. So it helps in ref. Um, you could deliver these modules, which are research informed, to deliver community impact. So you have impact cases. So these are different criteria that you can use to signify your contribution. Okay, maybe you have your own YouTube channel, for example. Start delivering things for community, whether getting paid or not. This is not the issue, but it promotes the university reputation, and they would say you are quite networked. You have this number of views for your videos. This is just an example of my own channel. I'm not showing off, but this is just an example of how I do things. You need to demonstrate your experience in teaching online, whether pure online for person education or other, online institutions, commercial ones, or in your own institution. How would you split groups? How you design inclusive teaching? Different technologies that you can incorporate in Blackboard or a Moodle or whatever the software you are using. What sort of lessons you learned from teaching online? How you engage mature people who are working full-time in online learning, different innovative techniques that you need to develop. You need to demonstrate. This is again part of the signification and showing what you could do, is to deliver something new. For example, I did this SAP, which is sort of enterprise system teaching. So SAP is a certification. Once the students pass my course, they would be able to get the certificate later on. You can demonstrate this to the university and tell them this is how much income we could gain. The software costed this amount of money, but we could recruit this number of students, and suddenly there is another institution who wanted to buy our courses online or face to face. I'm just giving you some examples of what I delivered. Business simulation, for example, I developed it. So I had research funding to develop the simulation from external sources and then from university sources, and I incorporated this in my teaching. And I always have this as evidence of what I could really deliver in terms of critical thinking skills, problem solving skills for my students, and all of this feedback into my presentation for promotion and when I apply for jobs. Okay, now the last element of the second part, how you signify things. You might be a brilliant teacher and a brilliant scholar who's good researcher, good teacher, but then so what? If you don't apply for teaching excellence awards, you end up with even less qualified people get famous and get promoted, and you're in your comfort zone. So my advice, guys, do it the other way around. Start reading about National Teaching Fellowship, Collaborative Award for Teaching Excellence, Global Teaching Excellence Awards, these awards, and design your own modules and your research around these awards. How would you have the 4 Ps to deliver something good so you can compete in these awards? The National Teaching Fellowship Award is merely competitive on how your team could deliver something innovative. It's peer-reviewed and not extremely difficult, but you need to get recognized from your own institution first, then you can get the national level. And this is again will help you when you reflect in your application for senior fellowship and principal fellowship awards. The second one is collaborative. So if you work with other universities within UK to deliver like a building capacity module, something creative together, you can take your initiative and apply for the collaborative one. The global teaching excellence is quite interesting. and it applies for different disciplines. But mainly you need to show excellence worldwide. It is judged by external reviewers and sometimes industry people, and it shows your institutional commitment towards global benchmarking. And this is how you can get, recognized in the world ranking. Definitely, in different disciplines, you have different awards, but this is just from my modest experience. So once you do things, you have your own footprint, you signify your contribution and deliver things significantly measured, and you show this in your application, in your cover letter when you apply for a job, or in your promotion application, um, then you have a chance to get promoted and develop in your career. The last element, and this is not going to take long, so continuous development. This is a bit wide because it depends from your own career to my career to different disciplines. But I would say this is, for example, when I go for PDA or any sort of performance development assessment, I show to my manager, this is a paper that I'm gonna publish or plan to submit. Don't give big promises. So I'm submitting this paper to this journal, which has this rank. Is it 4 stars or A star? Or it depends on the ranking list that you used from the first part we spoken about today. What sort of funding I can secure, how much money, the audience and the impact this would benefit this number of users, not just academic users, but community users. This would help me in applying for, this Teaching Excellence Award. It would help me to deliver these modules. So I'm going to take it to teach this blockchain and business analytics module, for example, in digital innovation module. So this would feed back into the other 4 Ps. And last but not least, the crucial element of fellowship. I would say in many institutions, you wouldn't get a job unless you have a sort of at least associate fellowship of higher education academy. So the higher education academy is the biggest institution. It's almost the supreme council of higher education in Egypt, something similar to this. And once you get the fellowship, this means you know the framework of the higher education academy, and you have the manners, that you know how to have this constructive alignment when you deliver your own learning and teaching strategy. Now, this is a bit tricky. When you apply for a new job and you get the job, for example, they will give you 2 options. Some institutions wouldn't give you these 2 options, but they are always there. You can negotiate again to get them. So maybe first you got associate fellowship because you've been doing a PhD in England, and you got this course free from the university, so you need to apply for the fellowship. Now, when it gets to the fellowship, there are 2 passes: direct and the indirect one. So the direct one is you go for the higher education academy, and there is an application, a portfolio that you can submit, either for the associate fellow if you don't have it, or the fellow. And you need a fellow to give you, 2 fellows, I guess, as far as I remember, to get your certificate. So they review your portfolio, and they give you the support. They give you reference letters, so you can always, explore the new procedures in the Academy of Management. It's not difficult. I would say if you have the relevant experience as a module tutor or module leader, you can easily get the fellowship and write the portfolio. But ask for other fellows or senior fellows to review your application, and you might pay around £300. It's not a big deal. But this is a shortcut because you can get it in it depends on how much could you dedicate for this. It wouldn't be more than 3 months of writing if you do have the experience. The other way is that you start with a university who will give you part of your workload, might be between 10 to 20% of your workload. Well, officially, I don't know in reality if they do have the capacity to give you this a chance. However, this is a formal way. So they ask you to attend PG CAB or PG CERT module, which would be between 2 to 3 semesters. You attend specific modules. And once you pass them, you get direct fellowship to the higher education academy. This could be 1 year, um, and it would become part of your probation. And most of the cases, they will not sign off your probation. Probation is a period of time where you get tested, until they think, okay, you are good enough to be a permanent staff. So they will extend your probation period until you pass these modules. Um, and in this case, if you couldn't find a place or if you couldn't pre-book, you might start, for example, in May. So these modules would start as normal master or diploma modules, first semester or second semester. So you need to book for the second semester delivery or intake from first semester. So you started in May. The early start you can book for is September or October, which means your probation period might extend as far as you go with these modules. So it could be from 1 year to till 2 years. In other big universities or Russell Group universities, this could be around 5 years. Um, so you can always negotiate. So you can say, guys, I'm gonna take this PG Cap or PG Cert, but in my own, I would submit my portfolio. If I submit my portfolio and come back with the certificate of fellowship, would you give me the promotion, or would you give me the permanent status or the tenor status? Um, and you can always negotiate. Then both schemes would help you later on to reflect on whatever we said before about your TIF contribution, REF, and all of these things in teaching and research, and your pedagogy, to apply for senior fellowship, principal fellowship, in your career. Thanks a lot. As far as I remember, we've been reviewing three elements: your, career footprint, and the 4 Ps that you need to do with details, how you signify and show your contribution, and then how you progress in your future career. Thank you, and I will be here waiting for answering any question from anybody. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Okay, thank you very much for your for your presentation, and thank you for being with us here tonight. We have received a few questions, so would appreciate it if you'd answer them. The first question is, when it comes to publications, would one need to focus on the number of publications or the quality of their journal?
Okay, I mean, the answer, I guess, is clear. It's mainly the quality of the journal. If we go to the ranking, the list of ranking that I suggested, this is just in my discipline in business. But in your own discipline, you need to find the right and appropriate ranking approved by your promotion panel. So in your division or in your own institution, they do approve a specific list. So let's assume you are in Saudi Arabia, you're in Medina, or in a university somewhere else than England. Ask the HR and your line manager or your mentor which list is approved, and then you can follow this list. Again, I mean, in England, it's a money raising, money income generating stuff. So if you have 3-star journal paper or 4-star journal paper, and their impact, their internal review shows that this is 3 or 4-star, then you raise income for them when they submit the ref, which means you have a better value. There are many early career scholars who would fancy publishing everywhere, regardless the value. I wouldn't advise to do so, unless this is something accepted by your own institution. Some institutions in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait and other institutions, they do just ask for a publication, whatever it is. But if you have a valuable, high quality research, don't just ban it anywhere. If you cannot do this alone, go for other experts, and don't think this way. Don't think that they are going to steal your work. If I do have time, for example, I would love to help others, regardless, being a co-author or not. And if I couldn't, dedicate time, and I would just say, I'm sorry, but I advise this professor somewhere else could help you further. but explore these opportunities so you can publish in high quality journals than having a big list of publications with low value.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, another question that I personally have is that you've mentioned that there are different systems of publications ratings. So you mentioned an American system, an Australian system, and an English system. Now, for the same publication, it could get 3 different ratings across the 3 different systems. Now, doesn't this represent some sort of flaw in the fact that there are 3 systems? For example, one system may show a high rating and the other would show a low rating, for example. And what would the publisher do then if, you know, one system says that their publication is 4-star worthy while another would say it's 1 or 2-star worthy? Where do we go from here?
I want you to think of your publications as currency. So, for example, if the exchange rate for your sterling pound is higher in Gulf, go to Gulf. If it is higher in Egypt, go to Egypt. So my idea is wherever you can negotiate with your department that these publications in Australian or American ranking is better, and can you please incorporate other ranking techniques than just the ABS or the British way of ranking things? This could be a way, or just to move to another institution before the ref, and you can demonstrate their way. So if they do accept this other ranking, use their ranking. For journals and publishers, if you mean by publisher is as institution who publish, they always try to negotiate with different councils, academic councils, like the Australian Council, to approve their journal as one of the top listed ones. For example, the Knowledge Management Journal at the moment used to be 3-star journal. The senior editors are trying to put this in the top Financial Times 50 journals. So there is always a negotiation, but from your perspective as a scholar, try to see where your currency have a bigger value and move with it. To be honest with you, in England, being very loyal, and I mean by loyalty is stucking in the same institution for a long time wouldn't help, because the competition would be huge ahead of you. But if you apply somewhere else, they will evaluate you differently, and they will have less political clash with their own people. This is an external person. They will accept him, put you there with a promoted position. So you can always negotiate your own way, convince your own people internally. If they don't accept this, go where your currency is valuable. I wish I answered your question correctly.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Someone has said that they couldn't really understand the difference between the research impact and the research impact case study, saying and they think that the impact case study is part of the research impact. Do you care to comment?
Yeah, well, there is a big difference, to be honest. The impact of a journal paper is already written, and it's based on the citations and other, sort of metrics they use for different databases and for different journals. So research impact is different. The impact case study is part of the ref. So if you review the research excellence framework, you will see 50% of it is about impact to community. An impact case study, from my modest experience, I'm just doing an impact case at the moment. You had to signify that you did a project that delivered a community impact. So, for example, when I mentioned a project for Saudi Arabia for Hajj pilgrimage, we are talking about millions of people who are using the app. So this is the impact. But then, did I publish about this project? So I have to have normal journal papers submitted to journals and published, supporting and promoting this news of the delivery, and I had to use the techniques of developing this app in my own teaching. So an impact case is not a publishable case you just submit it to ref panel, okay, not to a journal paper or a publisher. And you need to demonstrate that there is a live project which is in progress or being developed during the last years before this ref and after the previous ref. And you need to show that you published normal papers around it, and you need to have testimony from community and from users to show that they use this app, and there is a big evidence that the population who are using this app is big, or this research is big. Paper impact factor is for a journal, and it's based on a citation or another matrix. But impact case study, this is something bigger and complicated.
Thank you for listening, and we hope to see you in the next session. Don't hesitate to follow us on our social media platforms as seen on this screen. For more updates and information on the Egyptians Together Union, please visit our official website on www.egyptianstogether.com. Also, for any questions or queries, please contact us via email on egyptianstogetheruk@gmail.com. Also, for more videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel called Egyptians Together. Thank you for listening, and we hope to see you in the next session.